everybody. My name is Angie Murenga. You're watching Just Angie. It's the Ustawi Leadership segment. I love the Ustawi Leadership segment because we talk about all things purpose, leadership, governance. I have an amazing guest in studio. I'm so grateful for the guests that have been coming on the show. You know, it's just been amazing. This one, it's gonna blow your mind. So let me just give a quick introduction and then she'll let us know how she wants us to know her. From whatever I've missed out from my introduction, and then we're going to have a conversation. So Mucha Mlingo is a 6 seconds certified emotional intelligence practitioner and coach. She's an international award-winning trainer, moderator, and keynote speaker. She's a self-professed emotional intelligence fanatic, and she is on a mission to transform Africa, changing hearts and minds, one leader at a time. She's the founder and lead change maker at PTS Africa, the emotional intelligence company. It's a boutique Pan-African consultancy firm headquartered in Kenya that is dedicated to the development of people. At PTS Africa, people are considered to be an organization's most valuable asset, more valuable than the physical office, data, and capital. The success stories at PTS Africa have everything to do with the transformation of behavior to drive organizational performance. Oh my goodness. That is so much and so beautiful. And I did meet you in the emotional intelligence space, I remember, quite a number of years ago. But Mucha, welcome to Just Angie.
Thank you.
Thank you for saying yes.
Thank you for having me.
Please tell us, what else have I missed out? Because I know you're married. How many children? What do you want us to know about you? Then we go into a conversation about this emotional intelligence.
Sure.
Yes.
So, yes, I'm married. I have 2 boys.
Oh,
so I'm a mom of boys.
Mom of boys.
Yes, I have a teenager and an almost preteen.
Okay.
So I have a 14-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, they keep me very busy.
I can imagine.
They are my other job in addition to the job that I have. And yeah, so I am based between Cape Town and Nairobi.
Yeah, you said
so. My family live in Cape Town, but our offices are in Nairobi, which is where our headquarters are. We recently moved to Cape Town, so we're still, you know, learning how Cape Town is, loving the experience, and missing Nairobi,
I can
especially
imagine.
the chapati.
Yeah, chapatis are everything. She told me sometimes I'm walking somewhere in a street in the US, so you're like, where will I get a chapati? Like that is the thought that came. Random chapatis.
Actually, for this trip, my kids have told me I must not come back
without chapatis.
In the 15 years that we lived in Kenya, I never learned how to make chapati I should have learned. So I usually stock up whenever I'm around. So I'm in and out of Nairobi at least once, sometimes twice a month, depending on the work.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
So I think that's it about
good.
Me.
All right. So tell me about why the emotional intelligence journey.
Yeah, so the emotional intelligence journey is an interesting one because it happened to me, and I'll explain. So we moved to Kenya in 2008. My husband was brought here with his work. We're originally from Zimbabwe. And when we moved here, I left my job and I worked for a financial services company in their training and development team. And when I arrived in Kenya, I was expecting our first son. Decided to take a bit of time to acclimatize myself. And when I started looking for work, I couldn't really find anything that fit with what I used to do. And I say it by accident, but it's really God. I fell into training, right? Which is what I had been doing. A friend from church invited me to do a session for their team. And when I did that, I thought, oh my goodness, you mean I could actually do this for myself instead of looking for a job? At the time when I was looking for jobs, I felt that training roles were very junior roles. I had come from a senior role, senior decision-making strategic role, whereas when I was looking for jobs then, this is 2009, 2010, you know, training was like a junior officer. You wouldn't be decision-making, you're just following instructions, and I just knew that wasn't the kind of job I wanted. So yeah, so I set up my company, PTS, in 2010 and began on a journey of providing training services. When we started, we didn't do emotional intelligence.
Yeah, I was going to say you started with training people on other things.
So my background is in sales. I worked for a financial services company and bank. So we trained the people on how to sell. And so when I started, that's what I did, provided sales training, worked with banks, insurance companies. Those were initially the first kind of companies we worked with. And I think I always wondered, what is it that differentiates that superstar salesperson from the mediocre, right? What is it? What is that X factor? And I knew it wasn't academics, right? Because there are some really smart people who still can't quite, achieve their kind of big, hairy, audacious goals. So I was always looking, what is it? And then I stumbled across a book by Daniel Goleman on emotional intelligence. Wow. And I thought, this is it. This is it. It makes sense. Our emotions drive our behavior. So it makes sense that if I'm not paying attention to my emotions, it's going to impact how I show up. And so I started reading. I'm a voracious reader. I love to read. And so I started reading, I started researching, and I started adding emotional intelligence to the training, right? So I remember a number of bids that we won because of the emotional intelligence, right? So when we pitched, we'd say, yes, we're doing sales training, but we're building it on this concept of EQ. And then I got to a place where I realized that I'm not moving as quickly as I'd like, in the sense that anything I was building into our training, I'd have to research, I'd have to read up. And so that was limiting. So I decided that I wanted to get a certification and collaborate with a company that focuses on that, so that they can focus on giving me the content and I can focus on delivering. Yeah. So I, went online, did some research. The first company I reached out to told me they didn't certify people in Africa. They were based in the US. Wow. Then I met 6 Seconds. So 6 Seconds is the world's largest emotional intelligence network. Excellent. And they were really like, yes, definitely. So I remember I traveled to South Africa for my initial certification. And honestly, Angie, I always say that I did my EQ certification so I could help my clients, but I was the biggest beneficiary. I sat in that room having so many aha moments of, oh my goodness, wow. I was really blown away. And I always say I fell in love with EQ on that day. I remember it very vividly, and it did. I remember vividly because it was cold. It was cold in Joburg. And, with a bald head, you feel the cold a lot more. I remember the facilitator lent me her scarf and I wrapped it around my head because I was sitting there shivering. But so that was the journey. And since then, I call myself an EQ fanatic because I just love all things EQ. I think it's such a game-changing skill. Amen.
Do you see people, like when you're training, do you see, maybe what's the impact that it's had on the people that you've met? I was wondering whether you see the wheels turning, because I can imagine when you talked about that aha moment, I can be in that moment, when you're in a room and you thought you came for the certification, but then it begins to impact your own life. And so many downloads are going on in your mind and things are clicking into place. And so I wonder, I'm sure you've had that moment with your own people, but maybe you can share with us, because you've been doing this now since 2012.
Since 2010, actually. 2010. I mean, the EQ stuff a little later, but training since 2010.
Yeah. What does that look? What have been the success stories out of that? Or I'm even thinking the learnings, and then maybe it's just a few of the challenges.
Yeah. So I think for me, I love those aha moments that you see. I do as well. Right? When you can see that someone's like, okay. And so what I always say is, as an organization, we don't just train in emotional intelligence. So what happened was, when I came across EQ, I pivoted, and our company now is an emotional intelligence consultancy, right? But what that means is, it's not so much that we train in EQ, but we use EQ as our methodology. So how we teach is built on how people learn. And it's built on the understanding that emotions drive behavior.
They do.
And so when I teach or facilitate a class and I'm just speaking to your head, there's no change that's going to happen. I need to speak to your heart. Emotions. And so the way we build our courses is built around that. It's built around an understanding of how the brain works and how people like to learn. We understand the emotions that contribute positively towards learning, and we understand the emotions that are detrimental for learning, right? So emotions that help people to learn are the emotions of curiosity, the emotions of excitement, and the emotion of courage, because it takes courage to do things differently.
So many things,
and so infused in the program are those things, right? So that people can have those aha moments. And then we also know that people learn best when they can derive their own meaning from it, right? At 6 seconds, we believe that wisdom lies within.
Yes.
So my job as a facilitator isn't always about giving new knowledge. It's about plucking what's already there.
Inside.
So people can think, oh my goodness, yeah, that's
That
me.
makes sense.
You're describing me. That makes sense. So a lot goes into thinking through how to facilitate the session so that there's greater impact afterwards. Because what we're trying to do, as you read in the bio, is to change hearts and minds. That's what we're trying to achieve. You asked about some successes.
So
I mean, there's been a lot of clients we've worked with where, you know, the change is just there and it's evident. A lot of the work we do is research-based, so we encourage clients to go the full journey with us, where we do something before to kind of assess the baseline, and then we look at the impact. And we have case studies that show that this work we're doing has impact. It has impact on individuals, it has impact on the teams, being able to work better together. When I think of the challenges, I think when I started doing this work, the market is a lot different now, especially post-COVID.
Oh, definitely.
When I started doing this work, I'd say emotional intelligence, and people would be like, huh, what is that? Why is it important? Yes, now everybody and anyone is training on emotional intelligence, right? So I think that was a challenge for a long time, where you feel like, oh my goodness, we're talking about this stuff and we're not getting traction. But yeah, because I'm just fanatical about it, it just kept me going, kept me motivated to keep going. COVID was tough. We'd moved into a new office space, then COVID happened. I mean, I think what EQ does is it also helps you as an individual. When I look back, I actually think we took long to pivot, but what we did do is we moved out of the office and everyone worked from home for a long period. We only moved back into an office again last year. Sometime last year is when we moved back into an office. So, you know, the journey of being an entrepreneur, it's challenging. It has its ups and downs. But
I think the ups they're good ups. The ups are really good ups, I think. The impact is of changing lives and hearts is very, because you said, yes, it's impacting the organization, but it's also impacting the family, the greater life. And people all around your community. And one of the things that you said that has really, it's really resonating in my spirit is you said you wanted to see what differentiates people who are successful and not successful. We can all start at the same starting point, have all the same education, but something is going to differentiate us, and that's behavior. That's the emotional side of things. And then I'm just imagining, because so far, are you doing this in Kenya only?
So no. So what COVID did was it opened up the world, right? COVID opened up the world. You know, there's always, the Lord always blesses in the different seasons. And so we started doing work for companies across the continent.
Oh, excellent.
And, you know, a lot of companies realize that if they have a Pan-African presence, so we have clients that have offices across Africa, whereas in the past, they would bring everyone maybe to Nairobi, which is where the head office is, pay for everyone's accommodation and flights. You know, now we can do it online. So I'm doing a lot of work online for organizations that are working with their teams and traveling the globe. Next week, I'm in Morocco facilitating a session for a client. And this is an American firm that's bringing their teams together in Morocco. I was in Mauritius in end of August, again, facilitating something. So across. And I love Africa. I mean, Africa is just, I love it, and I love doing the work that I do across the continent. So Kenya is where our head office is. Now that I'm based in Cape Town living, the next step would be to open an office in Cape Town.
Well,
so the idea is to service Southern Africa. I always say that I think the Lord thinks I'm a bit of a slow learner because I did a program at USIU. It's called it's a Goldman Sachs 10,000 Women program, and you create a growth plan. And my growth plan was very clear that Kenya was going to service East Africa, and I'd have an office here, and I'd recruit a GM who would run East Africa, and then I was going to, do a Southern Africa office, In my mind, I thought Zimbabwe, which is where I'm from, where the head office would be. And that was in my growth plan. I think the Lord just saw that this chick is taking too long, so he just gave my husband a job in Cape Town. And he's like, okay, slow down. So yeah, so one of the jobs we're doing next year is recruiting a GM for Kenya.
For Kenya?
Yes.
Well done.
So that the GM for Kenya can really focus on growing the business across East Africa. And then I'll probably initially start, with the Southern Africa, and then eventually recruit a GM for South Africa.
And then so the next region is where now?
Woo! I don't know. I guess West Africa next, right?
West or North or Central?
I guess West Africa makes sense. Yes. I guess West Africa makes sense. So yeah, so
it makes sense.
So that's the that's kind of big, hairy, audacious goal. And sometimes I'm just like, okay, God, I'm not sure, but yeah, I think God's like, hey, move. You're taking too long. Yes.
There's getting out of the comfort zone, but I love it. I love I love the growth. I love the process, the trajectory, because I'm just thinking it's such an important topic, emotional intelligence. But there's so many people waiting on the other side of you making that obedience
100%.
So that lives can change.
100%.
Things can click,
100%.
come into place, and I begin to change my behavior, and therefore I'm able to be successful.
100%.
So without giving everything away, maybe what are the top 3 things? You can look at this camera, and because this is to inspire, to encourage, to motivate. It's December. People are always December. You're between. Was that a successful year? Was it not a successful year? What happened this year? And then also people always thinking about the future. So maybe you can encourage them with the things that you maybe train and have taught or learned around EQ. Yeah.
So I think the first thing I always say to people is emotional intelligence starts with self-awareness. Okay. There is such power in understanding yourself. And as you reflect on the year that was, that wasn't, focus on self-reflection and purpose as you think about the year ahead, to begin the year with the habit of self-reflection. So self-awareness, I believe, is a superpower, and it just really is about understanding that there's more to you than meets the eye. We like to use the analogy of an iceberg to describe people. And so when you think of an iceberg, there's the tip of the iceberg that is above the surface, and that's what we see. That's what we hear. That's what we interact with, what we can touch and feel. But beneath the iceberg lies so much more. And so self-awareness is like putting on your goggles and going diving to understand who are you at your core. So many of the things that you do and say are based on what lies beneath the surface, and you may not be aware of it. I always say that, operating through life with limited self-awareness is like driving your car blindfold. It doesn't make any sense. So I think the first thing I would say is purpose to strengthen the skill of self-awareness. What does that look like? Get into the habit of self-reflection. Every day, take just 15 minutes to reflect on your day. Reflect on how the day went. Reflect on your emotions in the day. What were some of your triggers? Why were those your triggers? What were some of your highs? What brought about those highs? And what you find is just 15 minutes a day will transform your life, because you'll begin to see patterns that exist, and you'll be able to start unraveling some of those patterns that are not serving you well. So that's the first thing, self-awareness. The second thing is understand that you are in the driver's seat of your emotions. You really are, right? Our emotions are powerful enough to override rational thinking. That's the way God designed it. Emotions are designed to push you into action, but you can respond rather than react. I like to say emotions are data. It's information from yourself to yourself, but that data is not a directive. It's information. So you can make the determination of what to do with it. Amazing. So as you tune in, building self-awareness, then practice the habit of pausing. Think about, what am I feeling? Okay, I want to do this. Is this really what I should do? If I do that, what's the possible consequence? Right? So get into the habit of practicing the power of the pause. A lot of us think that we must respond immediately to the things going on around us, but you don't. You can pause. I always say that one of the best tricks is have a bottle of water always. And when you feel yourself just take a sip. And in those moments of taking a sip, just ask yourself, what do I really want? And then I think the last thing I'd say is tap into the power of your why. Your purpose is the biggest driver. And when you have clarity of purpose, it motivates you to make decisions that are aligned with your purpose. And so as you wind down the year, spend some time reflecting on who are you at your core and what is your why? What gets you up in the morning and keeps you motivated? Because when you can paint that picture vividly, it then helps you to do step 1 and 2 that I talked about. When my why is clear, I'm more likely to take the time required to self-reflect. When my why is clear, I'm more likely to pause and hold back those words that are about to evaporate from my mouth. And so spend time thinking about your why. So those 3 things: know yourself, develop self-awareness, choose yourself, get into the habit of being intentional about responding rather than reacting, and give yourself, have clarity over your why. And that is actually the 6 seconds model of emotional intelligence that we use. Know yourself, choose yourself, and give yourself.
Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Know yourself, choose yourself, and give yourself. That is absolutely powerful. I'm like, wow. I'm really grateful that you came on here. I'm really grateful that you came and you shared, and I'm sure we'll share your social media handles, and they'll be able to find you. And we pray that you get the most amazing GM. I hope she has your energy, your vibe, able to reach the masses.
It is a prayer item for sure.
So we are praying with you.
So
that the right person is in the position, because you've done a phenomenal job here.
You.
So we want that continuation. And then South Africa, we pray as well that takes off. And then West Africa. And we're so excited and so happy.
The day we open West Africa, I'll have to call you and come back and say, hey, Angie, it happened. From your word, your mouth to God's ears.
There's a way that even the vibe in West Africa is your vibe. You can fit that vibe very well. So
I like that.
Very assured of that. So I'm really grateful. And we'll have you back, because I feel like we've just touched a small element, so we need to know what else happens. Are you, I don't know, in my spirit, I'm just wondering, are you writing books about this, about your life, about what you've been able to do? Because I feel like the reason we write books is that we have to leave ourselves. We have to leave a little bit of ourselves here, so that the world can know. And we know what to do and how to engage. I am writing a book. That is a project that I'm working on. So I'm looking forward in the new year to, that's something that's in the works. Okay. Thank you, Mucha. Thank you. Thank you so much. Reach out to Mucha, please, and to PTS, and just reach out and do something, and be the change that you want to be. I love it. Change makers' hearts and minds. God bless you guys. Bye.